All right, so good evening, everybody. This is Blanchette, and this is our going to be our home for a little while here, starting at 5:30 Pacific, 7:30 Central, and 8:30 Eastern. For those of you in Hawaii, I think that's 3:30 or 4:30. I don't know. Doesn't really matter what time it is there because it's always the best time in Hawaii. Um, Tonight, what we're doing is for just to give you kind of a little bit of background. We used to have weekly meetings from 9 years ago. I started doing weekly conference calls before we even had video chat, and then we moved to video chat, and we did lots of training for a while. And one of the neat things about training is you build a culture with training. And then there was a point at which I felt like I couldn't offer you anything else, and so we jumped over and started working with Terry Miller and listening to her, joining her with her teams, and then Optavia started offering some trainings on Monday that were extended trainings, and I've retooled over the last probably 5-6 months, doing a lot of work with Tim, and so now we're going to have some of our own trainings. And what I find when we have trainings like this is that it makes the group a little smaller, and a lot of us know each other. Many of you are at convention. And one of the things about feeling connected, when you're in a smaller group, it's easier to do that. And then the neat thing about having our own teams is we get to decide what our culture looks like. And so that's what I've been talking with Tim about. And so we did a sort of a little preview called the Fireside Chat. And many of you were like, oh, it felt so good to be back together again. And so this is going to be the extension of what that looks like. And so I'm going to give a little bit of an overview of what we're calling VPE, Vision, Purpose, and Excellence, and talk about the scope and sequence and kind of what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be talking tonight a little bit about the Habits of Health 2.0 system, how to deliver it, what's included, why to use it, how to get the app, all that kind of stuff. And then we'll talk a little bit about the incentive trip. And we need to consistently talk about the ILAT, International Leadership Trip, because it takes multiple months of certain types of activities, and you can earn that. It's completely possible. Um, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Habits of Health call for Wednesday that Dr. A is going to be doing. So, but first of all, I'd love to kind of come off of mute here and see all who's joining us. I know many of you. Oh, there you are, Maureen. Good to see you. I was on a different view and I didn't see you, but I'm glad you're here. I'm curious, as far as those of you that attended convention, if it was, if not your first convention, I'd love for one of you to come off of mute and just say, kind of give a perspective, because it was very different, and it was different in different ways for different people. And so I don't know who would like to come off, but just maybe one or two things as your takeaways as you left. What do you think your biggest return will be on the investment that you made to go? Who wants to go first? I know Mandy and Debbie are aching to talk. So many of you are there. So how about you, Diane? Why don't you start us off here? Because you were there and we had some nice conversation. But you've been to how many conventions have you been to? Let me unmute you there. There you go. Now you're unmuted. Yeah.
I was trying to remember that. I think about 6.
6. Great. So you have some perspective from when it was Take Shape for Life, when we went through the transition. Now we're fully Optavia, and now we're like the bomb Optavia. But what do you think?
I really felt like there was a really big shift in that convention. I especially in the area of being really authentic. And the focus was more, in the past, I have heard it said, and maybe you might disagree with this, Craig, but, it was about the speed at which we moved through our business. And this time it felt like it was more about being about the people we serve, being authentic and meeting their needs and not being worried about getting them and
Hmm.
pushing them, kind of
Hmm.
thing. So I think that
Yeah.
was one of the biggest things. And I mean, I just felt goosebumps most of, through the whole thing. It was pretty
Hmm.
amazing to me. And yeah, it was, so
It's
that's
good.
my big one.
Yeah, that's good. I know Jamil, he talked tonight. He says, I can't push you to health. I can't pull you to health, but I can darn well walk beside you and I
Yeah.
will. And it's like, oh man, it was so, so great. And the thing that I heard today from Tim, he was talking to a couple people and he says, Optavicia teaches you how to be a better human.
Yeah.
It doesn't teach you
Yeah.
how to be a good coach. I mean, sure, coaching, but at the essence of it all, it's not a better mom. I mean, sure, it's all those things, but at the top of that is we give you human skills, how
Yeah.
to how to human well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Well, and just as a point of experience, I'm home visiting my mom and my dad, and I'm a runner. I'm that athlete person. Well, my dad is 88, and I went out for a walk with him, and I didn't even think twice about it. I wasn't thinking like, oh, I really got to get out there and run. You know what I mean? And I just felt like I had a real heart change.
mm.
And so,
You were
anyway,
there to walk with him, not to
yeah,
get a workout for you.
yes.
Nicely done. Yeah, that's great awareness. Mandy, do you have? I'm going to unmute you, and you can nod at me. Maybe I can unmute you. But yeah, there you go.
Can you
So,
hear
because
me?
I know you were there, I just think this was your second convention, if I'm right. Is that true?
You are right.
Okay. And what was as you were
Yes.
leaving? Was you why were you glad you went? There's a question for you.
Oh, that that's a tough question.
Okay.
I am glad I went on so many different levels.
You don't have to look at the
Today,
camera. You can keep your eye on the
I
road.
don't know. I don't know why I'm like holding it. I don't know
Yeah.
why. But no, actually, I wanted to show you guys all these sunflowers I'm driving by. It's like a mile of sunflowers, and it's the most amazing thing in the world. Anyways,
Nice.
about convention. So I feel like you just said, I actually said those exact words to somebody on the airplane today. I said, we teach people how to be better humans. And I said, that's what it is teaching me to do. And I just feel like just today alone, I connected with like 5 different people between the airport and Spokane. We're friends on Facebook, all of them already. And it's just like, I wasn't even trying. I was genuinely just starting conversations and talking to people. And I don't know, like something light bulbs went off and fireworks in my head. And I like kicked fear in the face and actually did it. So yeah, I'm glad that, and I don't know, just it was definitely different than last year. I definitely felt more heart, and I didn't know that was possible
Mm,
with this company.
yeah.
So yeah, I was glad, definitely glad I went.
Oh man, thank you so much, Mandy. Thanks for sharing that with us. I muted you back so you can focus on your driving. So just a couple of things. Our company is growing up, and we're not just growing up, but we're growing deeper, right? Understanding that we don't want this to be about the wrong things. We want this company to be about the right things. One of the notes I had on my way home. So I'm going to give you just a little thing, and you may want to consider this. It helps me because let's say I spent $1,500, right? All in all with expenses and hotel and airfare and all that, right? So I go away for 4 or 5 days. I didn't ride a roller coaster. I didn't go scuba diving. I sat in an air conditioning building most of the time with some amazing people, and I listened to people that had thoughts, that had experiences, that had a way of looking at life that was something that I wanted to be around. And I wrote down, I take these different notes, and so I go through my little notebook and I'm just writing down stuff that, ooh, that was a good one. And when it's really good, I put a little star next to it. And that's a highlight for me. Or if it's something that I think I could do a Facebook Live on that, because that's where I mine my ideas from other people and things. And then when there's a thing that, ooh, I say, ooh, I have to do that. I put a little checkbox next to it. And it's a checkbox but it doesn't have a check in it yet. And that's a cue to me that, ooh, that's an action item. And so then this is, these are my notes that I go through. And so I had all these notes. And then when I get on the plane, and many of you heard this before, it's such a discipline thing for me because I tell myself you can't start a movie, you can't start any entertainment until I read through my notes. And so I have a different book, and this one says, see that? Convention to-dos. And it's a list of all these little to-dos, right? And then on the next page, so I just go through and I pull out all the to-dos and I compile them into a little condensed note or section. Then I flip the page. This says convention highlights. And all of these are like the things. And then if you notice, a bunch of those say FBL or FB. That stands for Facebook. So those are little Facebook Live ones. Success leaves clues. That's something Dan Bell said. What has or has not happened in your life cannot be changed. In other words, stop trying to have a better past. You think you could talk for 2 or 3 minutes on that topic and do a little Facebook Live and offer some value to people? Well, I hope I can. Dan Bell, he only spoke once, but man, every word he says is like, it's worth 100. He says very few words and they're all high value, right? And then here's one. Not all information is helpful, but rather the right kind of info is helpful. Just information is not always good because how do you sort it? So what if you had just the right information sorted properly so that, and that you didn't have to worry about anything extra, no tips or hacks or anything, just what's in the system, everything's included. And that leads me to my my next step really is just talking about Dr. A's, the Habits of Health system. I had the privilege of being able to speak from stage for the first, other when I turned global, I got to speak from stage, but this was the first time I got to teach at convention. And I was one of the early adopters of the Habits of Health, and I got an early copy when I went to Sundance. And so I said, well, if I don't actually set up a structure to read it, it ain't going to read itself. And so I made an appointment with my wife. And once every Monday at 8 o'clock from 8 to 9, we would sit down and read through an element together. And a few weeks later, many weeks, we had all the elements read. And so that was in the life book. And so I was offering different things to Dr. A about what I felt about it. And so I got to be one of the health champions. And one of the things that I talked about, just here's some perspective. And I'm telling you this to create value so that you make sure that you buy it. And more importantly, after you buy it, you read it because it's going to make you a better human. I mean, it just really will. You can't not get better if you go through it. And so he had the Habits of Health book. That was the first book he wrote. And he thought, oh, this is everything that's needed. And then he realized it wasn't. So he wrote the Living a Longer, Healthier Life companion guide because people could read information but fail to apply it to their life. And I've had people do that. I had a nurse who was 350 pounds working at a clinic here in Vancouver. And I gave her a copy of the Habits of Health and she read through it and she said, yeah, yep, all that makes sense. It's really good. And then I gave her the companion guide. She couldn't get through the first few pages. She didn't know how to apply any of these principles that she knew to her own life. Her emotional awareness and her intuitiveness on who she was, she had no ability to author her life because she couldn't apply things to her own life. Interesting, right? But she was in healthcare, so she learned to apply it to others, and she failed to apply it to the first person, the most important person, which was ourselves, right? So then he had the companion guide. Then Dr. A was like, well, it seems like we need like a shorter version of the Habits of Health to kind of give an overview and do a little bit more mind work. So then he came out with Discover Your Optimal Health. And then he realized that we need to go back even further upstream and get into the identity. of what we think and how we think and why we think and all of that mind process. And then there was Stop, Challenge, Choose that was in there somewhere. And that was a short ebook. So this is all of these individual works of art. There were islands. They related to each other and they crossed over and there was different things. Dr. A took all of that and he compiled them into this book and this book. And then there's an app as well, which we've never had. And that helps us to install these micro habits. But so that's what these two things are. And this life book is designed to take you a year. You're not going to do this overnight. It's going to take you a year because you're going to have to give yourself time to recondition and to transform the way you think. You're going to have to start making new pathways of thought. It's like you're going to learn a new way to drive to work, right? Because the old way doesn't serve you. And the thing that I think is one of the missing ingredients that we've never had until now is this book. This is the coaching guide for the habits of health. And everybody that went to convention got a hard copy of this. So when you become a coach, how do you know how to coach somebody through the habits of health system? I've never been trained on that. I just winged it, kind of figured it out. This is that book. So this is a complete, like it's a full system. There's probably other information out there that might be valuable, but there's nothing that's out there that's necessary that's not in here. Let me say that again. There might be other information out there that might be useful, but nothing that's necessary for you to transform your life has been left out. It is in here. So for $45, you can have your own copy. For $394, if you place your order in the next few days until the end of the month, for $394, your brand new clients will get this new system. Even though the photo shows the old system, they get this. And on August 1st, it goes up to $414 because the printing of these books costs a little more and a little cost of the upgrade for the fuelings, the cost of ingredients. And then you have the app that comes along with it. So any questions about the habits of health? It's not even a 2.0, but it's a evolution into a complete system is actually what it is. Instead of a series of books, it's a complete system with 100% of what's necessary. So questions about the habits of health system. First of all, if you don't have it, will you just spend the $45, $49? We just make the investment for you. It literally is going to make, yeah, way to go, Jose. It's going to make the investment for you, for your life to look better. It won't look worse after you go through this. Trust me. You can have predictable transformation, and I've seen that happen a lot with people. It's predictably getting worse, right? Have you ever thought about that? Predictable transformation. Don't author your life and watch. Take everything personally. I predict your life's gonna suck more over time. But what if we had I know it's unplugged, right, Lenan? What if you could choose predictable? Another word that I heard for predictable is a guarantee. What if I could guarantee your life would transform for the better if you walked through this? That's what predictable transformation is. Nobody else in the world is doing the kind of work we're doing. Nobody else. People will sell you products. People will have coaching programs. People will teach you how to Diane, that's her background. A dietitian deals all with the mechanics and none with the human and the relation, the whole rest of us. We're not machines. And so she went rogue, and then she moved on and integrated Optavia because Diane knew that we weren't machines. We're humans. So I love that. I love that about you. So that's the Habits of Health 2.0 system. And what I'm going to be doing is talking to all of my past clients. Who here has inactive clients that aren't currently on 5-in-1 anymore? Anybody? A few of you? Yeah. So guess what? They don't, I guarantee they don't have this, right? It wasn't available back then. So it's a great opportunity to reach out and reach out and connect and say hey and catch up and oh by the way and what's going on in your life, how you been all these years. Like that's multiple ways of connecting with people and saying, oh, I don't know if you knew this, but we figured out the secret sauce and we've been working on this for 17 years and we figured it out and it works. We've seen evidence of it. And I wanted you to know about it. Right. And then on Wednesday nights, starting in 2 weeks, they're going to be going through the series of elements during the Habits of Health. And so we'll have a canonized each element on recording available on podcast as well as on YouTube. So that's going to be starting. And so this Wednesday is a 1 hour special Q&A with Dr. A on the Habits of Health Transformational System. So I really good reason to say hello. And oh, by the way, this powerful thing's happening. Will you join me? I would like to get your feedback. That's one thing I love to say with people is this thing I think is pretty cool and I respect your opinion. Would you watch it with me and let me know what you thought? Because I want to know. I want to get your feedback. It's one way to invite people. So that covers that Q&A with Dr. A. It also covers the Habit Cell 2.0. When it's delivered, the app is going to be available on iOS and Android starting August 1st. So, and you won't have to download the beta, the test flight, and all that. You'll go to the Google Play Store or the iOS App Store and search for it, and bazingo, it'll be there, right? And they've made some changes to it as well. Any questions before I move on? Negative. Well, excellent. So last up, I just want to talk about the scope and sequence. One of the things we're going to be doing with Tim is we're going to be talking with Tim about the way that Tim trains. Is he wants to make sure that you see the value and the vision of what to do, and that we really connect with being an author in your life, deciding on where you'd like to go. If you don't decide where you go, you'll just end up somewhere. And it's kind of a crapshoot as to whether you're going to like it or not, right? And so I love the way Tim talks. He really gets to the heart of the matter, and he and I are going to work together on understanding like a concept and kind of a value, a reason, and then we're going to move into a technique, right? So we'll show you the technique of the details of how it works, and then we're going to move you into how to apply it in your life, so you'll be able to apply it no matter what to your circumstances, right? And then we're going to have a little practice session. So we'll break out into breakout rooms, and we'll do that. And so each week we're going to cover a concept, and the things that Terry was talking about that are going to be happening in the other room is how to utilize the Habit Cell system and how to actually do things. We're going to be doing and teaching you the mastery of everything you know to be a successful senior coach. But a senior coach on our team is going to have the skills of an ED on anybody else's team. What do you think of them apples? Wouldn't it be awesome that think about the people that show up that are so good at something. When they show up to a tournament, everybody goes, I guess we're playing for second. All right. It's like, oh no, they showed up. And so we're going to bring our senior coaches to the wrestling match with EDs, and they're going to go, whoa, look at those skill sets, right? And then the folks that want to go executive and beyond, you'll be able to, because you have all those skills. But we're going to make sure that nothing is missed. And we're going to build this scope and sequence in this series of trainings. It's going to be a total of 4 trainings. And then the 5th training, the idea is that you will, over those 4 weeks, you will learn and to invite and build relationships with 5 people, And then in that 5th week, we're going to have a big trilogy presentation where we talk about, the Dunkirk thing, where there's a lot of people in the water and we got to bring all the boats because people are drowning, right? And so at the end, that 5th meeting, as we talk about the mission and the vision and what we're doing, you'll have people come on as coaches. The least you'll get is they'll be clients. Think of that. What if we started with coaches and the vision and they're like, I got to do it. And the ones that don't want to do that, well, they'll just be clients. Okay, we can all handle that, right? Last up here, I just want to share with you, for those of you that were at our Tuesday or our Friday night roundtable discussion, we had a couple of young people, 18-year-old, 19-year-olds that talked for a little while. They were pretty much terrified to talk in a group of people. But the reason why they shared, they did a little bit of oversharing, and it was adorable, quite frankly. Um, uh, wasn't it? And they said they wouldn't have felt comfortable speaking in a group like that normally, but they felt so accepted and safe that they just felt like they can be themselves. Well, they talked about this mission of finding 18 to 25-year-olds and a mission of bringing 50 18 to 25-year-olds over the next 2 years and building them to a global director. That's what the mission Tim has. The next morning, there was a couple there that lost over 300 pounds, and one of their children were all along the way. He signed up as a coach the next morning and was so jacked about being part of this mission. Like, there was nobody talking him into anything. He was like, I'm coaching. I'm doing it. I have a mission and a vision for this world, and I want to step up to the line and I want to run. I think of the reality when we get it right. We don't ask people to be coaches. They bust down the door. Right? That's what we're talking about. That just gave me goosebumps. I don't know about you, but that just gave me goosebumps. I don't get my self goosebumps every now, but that's just so hearing that story was amazing. And so that's what we're going to be doing, the vision, this VPE, vision, purpose, and excellence training. And so that'll be starting next week on Monday. And Tim will join us then. And so I hope you chat with your coaches. If, for all of you that have coaches on your team and you're connecting with them, chat with them, see what they can do to rearrange their calendars, push some stuff a little later or do some stuff a little earlier so they can be here live with us while we do this for the next few weeks. Sound good? Awesome. Well, it is a continued pleasure to be with you guys, and we're going to have lots of opportunity in the future for you guys to be engaged and involved. Breakout sessions. There's going to be a lot of feedback. We're going to hear from all of you because I'm not going to lead this team without you by myself. I don't want to make this about me. This is going to be about us all growing, and we're going to be facilitators for that. So I think it's going to be an absolute great time. All right, guys. All right. Well, we are close to 3 minutes past. Sounds perfect. Looks like we're right on time. So we will see you guys. Hopefully, we'll see you Wednesday. Don't forget about that 5:30 to 6:30, or what's that? 8:30 to 9:30 for those of you on the East Coast, and that's going to be the Habits of Health System Q&A. By the way, Dr. A and David Bush, that's a great team, and they're going to be doing that together on Wednesday this week. All right, guys, we will see you next time. Thanks for joining me tonight. Bye-bye.